Hello, my name is Christina Strickland. I'm the managing partner of Rowley Wealth and Benefits, and today we are joined by our president, who's also my father, Bruce Glenn. We're going to be talking about retirement planning and the importance of being realistic with spending expectations and having a flexible plan for your retirement. Okay, so as we're doing retirement planning, you know, it's easy from our perspective because we have spreadsheets, we have systems we can use to make projections. And you always say, hey, if you tell me the day you're going to pass away, I can tell you all the things, right? We can do the plan. But I think the reality of the situation is it's so much more human than that. It's so much more psychological than that. I always say one of my favorite things to say, because I hold true to this, is that what makes sense mathematically and what makes sense psychologically, they're never the same. Right. Almost always, they're never the same.
It's like people want to pay their home off, and it may not be the smartest thing if you got a low mortgage.
Right, but if it makes you feel better because you don't have a mortgage, then great.
That's the right thing.
Right. So I want to hear your perspective, having been a wealth manager for many, many years,
a couple of decades,
having counseled thousands of people on retirement. I want your perspective on the retirement planning journey, but I really, really, really want. You can add more to this, but I want these three things specifically. I want realistic spending expectations, longevity, and then flexibility during market highs and market lows. So again, you can add to it, but I really want to make sure you hit those three because I think you have good perspective on those.
Thank you. So let's talk about the longevity piece first of all. Yeah, I was just, as you know, out east with the conferences and saw a lot of our East Coast and Southeast clients, and I spent some time at the MIT Institute, and they have a great program they're working on. We're participating in on longevity and specifically finances to longevity. And the main thing, the biggest takeaway is that we're all living longer. Mm-hmm. And so there's a lot of different types of risks out there. Most investors think of risk as stock market risk. And actually in longevity, the biggest risk is inflation. And I would say taxes as well. But you have to be at least a reasonable amount of investment in the market to have a chance to stay ahead of inflation and cover your spending and your growing needs. So, there's a theory out there that there's a certain percentage, and we actually use this, and you can dial in, we can share with you one-on-one, but we use this on our endowment and foundation management strategies as well, where we start every year off with whatever their accounts are, and then we know what we consider a safe withdrawal percentage is, and we'll adjust the budget accordingly. Now, as individuals, we're not as able to adjust our budget accordingly, but that same number we use,
right? There's no board of directors for an individual retirement plan,
exactly,
like there is for an endowment or a foundation.
Yeah. We have the big investment committees we work with, but the individual person, that same withdrawal pace, what's considered to be a safe withdrawal pace, that does hold up if people are at least moderately invested throughout, at least the recent history, right? The last 100 years or so. But
can I be compliance for a minute?
Yeah.
Okay. When you say a safe withdrawal pace, what we mean is that if you stress tested a portfolio, in general, there's a level of withdrawal percentage that should sustain most stress tests that you can put on a portfolio.
Correct.
We can't predict the future. We can't guarantee that. But his history has shown that there are certain percentages of withdrawal that should be sustainable.
Right. And there's a number out there, and we can share it with you one-on-one. We just can't share it here on this because
this is going to the masses.
High compliance. But what you also need to do is you need to have some buffers in place. So let's say that you've got, 90% of your money invested in a good portfolio diversified between stocks and bonds and, international and U.S., small, mid-cap, large, so on and so forth. You still should have an appropriate emergency fund because you don't want to have that flat tire or that HVAC system in your house or hot water heater or roof or whatever the case might be could cause you to have to sell investments, good quality investments, above the level you should sell, especially in a down market. So it's all about you're trying to smooth out those ebbs and flows. So you need to think of it as buckets, right? You need to have a short-term spending bucket.
Yep.
It's like your monthly money in and out. And then you should have an emergency, the what if happens bucket. And then we should have our bond or a more fixed income part of our portfolio. Then more of our moderate growth and income portfolio, and then more of our growth portfolio, and then maybe a chimney on top of the house of some aggressive investments, a little dose of it. And they all can have a different place. And when things are great and you need money out, let's take a little bit of profit off the portfolio. When things are bad in the market and it's down a little bit and you need money, let's try not to touch it.
Well, and I think that's why that annual planning is so important, at least annual, if not semi-annual, of, hey, what do you think life looks like in the next 6 months? And what's the average that you're going to need each month? And so we know that we've got that in a certain account ready for, hey, this is my money that's earmarked for the next several months. Maybe I have some more that's earmarked for the next year. I'll tell you personally, that's exactly how I do my I mean, I'm not retired, but I have 3 different bank accounts. And one is, hey, this bank account has to last me the next 90 days. One is, this bank account has to last me months 4, 5, and 6. And the second one is, I just constantly have a new 6-month kind of window, if you will, of, hey, I've got 90 days, I've got months 4, 5, and 6, and then I've got months 7 through 12. And I think that here's the thing that has really taught me. And I think this would be helpful for people that are getting ready to retire. What it has really taught me is when I first started doing it, what I thought I needed for 90 days was very, very different than what I actually needed. I forgot a ton of stuff. Like, for example, we have a family subscription to Spotify. It's $46 a month. That doesn't feel like very much, but $46 a month over a year, that adds up a little bit, right?
2 or 3 other missed items, and all of a sudden your budget's blown.
Like I forgot Spotify. My daughter just told me yesterday that our family Microsoft Office subscription renews in August. That's like $300 that I didn't really remember in my budget. So when I started doing it as the every 90-day thing, so what I do is I look at my checking account. So like today's July 14th, I'll look at it August 14th and think, this is how much should still be
Where's
left
it today versus a month ago.
And is there more than that? Great. If there's less than that, then I know I've messed up somewhere.
Right.
And here's the thing I would say, if you're within a couple of years of retirement, you should do that now. Because what I often find, and I'll let you speak more, I promise. But what I often find is
you're doing fine.
I meet with individuals and they're getting ready to retire and they'll say, hey, I need to spend, $6,000 a month. And I say, well, how much are you taking home from your job right now? Right. And they'll say, oh, well, I bring home $7,200. And so I say, well, where's the other $1,200 going? Right. And they're like, I'm not really sure. And I say, okay, so if you're spending $7,200 a month today, what's going to happen that magically you only need $6,000? And here's the thing. Sometimes you know an answer. Sometimes it's my car is going to be paid off. My mortgage is going to be paid off. I'm, saving money for vacations, but I'm not.
Not eating out lunch,
I mean,
whatever.
Sometimes there's a legitimate reason.
Things can go down when you don't work.
But not always.
Right.
Sometimes it's money that
maybe
people...
you want to play more. Maybe you want to travel more.
Right.
Whatever your goals are.
Or maybe you don't actually know where it's going. And so it's probably still going to happen in retirement if you don't know and you can't articulate what it is.
Right.
So I think that's that realistic spending expectation, right?
Yeah,
and then longevity, we're living so much longer. We have so much more life to pay for. And with longevity comes inflation. Right. Our Money Guide Pro system that we use applies inflation. And it's so interesting because I just was talking to someone yesterday. They're going to retire in like 20 years. And they told me how much they need each month today. But by the time 20 years rolls around, that number is like 75% higher.
That's why you've got to have some money invested in something beyond just the bank rate.
Well, we have to, our goal has to be to at least keep up with inflation, right?
Right.
Okay, so now let's talk about flexibility during the markets. So and what I'm getting at, I guess, is like, hey, if I'm planning to spend $10,000 a year on travel, and maybe I can do it when the market's rainbows and sunshine, but all of a sudden the market pulls back, what do I do then?
So a lot of people do kind of you're talking about your different time stages of your banking. I use the envelope process. So I've got U.S. Bank loves me. I've got, like 15 accounts with them. I don't keep a ton of money there because anything that's over those account levels, I flow into the market. But I kind of earmark things for vacation or car trade or, in our business world, insurance, taxes, things like that. And I think that's a good idea for most people to kind of earmark and set aside certain amounts of money for those things you want to do, because you don't want to cancel your family's annual vacation, or taking the grandkids to Disney,
Mm.
or whatever it might be, just because the markets are down right now. And at the same time, you don't want to sell a bunch of money out of the market when the market's down, because that can derail your
Mm-hmm.
process. You've got to kind of stay to that tried and true percentage as much as you can, because that's held out through multiple years down the market, and it's held up the test of time. So
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of flexible that I would say there.
Mm. And I think that's, again, just speaks to the planning of, hey, when we meet with you, we ask, sometimes these questions act like a job interview, and it feels
Right.
very invasive, but that's why we're asking, because I want to know, hey, in the next 12 months, are you taking your entire family on a cruise and it's going to be $12,000?
Mhm.
Because I would manage your portfolio differently if I
Well,
knew that expense
sometimes
was
somebody
coming
will
up.
say, "Well, I'm going to pay my house off." Well, how much do you owe on the home? Which we probably already knew anyway. But
Right.
if and where's the money going to come from? If the money they have is all IRA money,
Right.
and they're going to pay off $100,000 mortgage on their home, well, let's think about that.
Right.
Especially if you're still working, because that's ordinary income tax on
Mhm.
top of
Mhm.
what your payment, your monthly, your paycheck was, and human resources and payroll weren't holding enough tax out to account for this other 100,000 you're going to throw on top of that
Mhm.
fire. And so
Yeah.
those things happen. So that's why, like Christina's saying, that's why we ask the questions
Mm-hmm.
in planning. We want to know as much as possible, and then we also build into the planning, like, so the roof and HVAC and car replacements, and how often do you trade cars, what kind of car do you buy when you do trade, how much money you spend. All these things go into it. But the biggest thing here locally in Kansas City, and I think this is pretty true across lots of parts of the country, the last couple of years, property taxes have gone insane. And I know there's some politicians specifically running on trying to do something about property taxes right now. And insurance, your homeowner's
Mhm.
insurance is going insane. And if you're trying to help put kids through college, or grandkids through college, those are three things that are all running way, way, way above inflation averages. So, I would think long and hard about fighting those things and rebidding your insurance, and, shopping. We had a client the other day. They've got an advanced student child that, is wanting to go to one of the most prestigious schools, and it's going to cost a lot of money. But their end goal is to be a math teacher, which there's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
But they're going to probably spend 10 times more money getting that degree to be the maths teacher
Mm-hmm.
than what would justify the salary outcome. And my mom and dad were both full, retired teachers, so I'm not speaking ill. I have great affinity. My wife is a teacher as well. But the college spending is another big piece that can get crazy, and you really got to figure out and try and take the emotions out of it,
Mm-hmm.
because that's, like, you're talking about the emotions. Trying to steer your child, your student, to a realistic school that is going to accomplish what they want to accomplish, and maybe has flexibility to go to the next level up if you need to, or whatever the case might be. And so, I don't know. I'm just rambling on about that, but the flexibility is important, and you've got to be careful about the things that are mega inflation oriented.
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing I would say about flexibility, and just to kind of wrap a bow around it, is, looking back at the last 20 years as a society, all of the advances in technology, all of the shifts in career patterns, all of the shifts in healthcare, those are all just going to continue.
Right.
And I don't say that as a scare tactic at all, because I don't think it's scary. I
But
think
when
it's
you get
actually
older, it is scary.
well, but I don't think it's scary if you've planned correctly and you're going into retirement with an open mind. It doesn't need to be scary.
Right.
It needs to be that we've had conversations ahead of time to thoroughly plan all the things we do know. We don't know what we don't know, but let's really take a deep dive into what we do know and make sure that the plan is set up accordingly.
Well, and so this is something that comes up every once in a while, because AI and this, that, and the other, and the robo advisor and that kind of stuff out there. And every once in a while, somebody will ask, what they should do or shouldn't do, or consider or not consider. And because the emotions involved, That is the one biggest thing. So Vanguard put a report out a few years back, and it's been updated and it's held true, that the value of an advisor, and I'm not going to say the exact percentage because I don't want compliance yelling at me or anything, but there was definitely a strong percentage of difference between having an advisor and having a plan, having somebody kind of hold your hand through the ups and downs. Because like you say, we have people come to us all the time that want to plow money into the hot market at the wrong time, when you're already buying overpriced stuff, or the market's down, they're scared and they want to jump out. And we see this on our 401k plans all the time. We go out and do participant meetings with people that, we're their advisor through the 401k plan level, but we may never have had a chance to actually meet with them. Then all of a sudden they want to sign up when the markets are down, and they're wanting to jump out and go into the money market because they're a fear of losing any more, right? But what they have to understand is you're also locking in that loss into something that's not going to rebound when the market inevitably should come back up, or at least throughout history has come back up. And so you have to be careful about that emotional control.
Mm-hmm. So in general, in retirement, let's do the thorough planning ahead of time. Let's be realistic about where things are going to be spent. Let's have a plan for inflation and longevity and what goes on in the markets, and just having a, plan A, plan B, plan C, so on and so forth. So if you don't have your plan on file with us, you should, but reach out to us if you don't. For all of our clients that we work with, your plan is available to you to see in the AdviceWorks client portal. If you go to AdviceWorks and you don't see your plan, please reach out to us because we want to make sure that we have that set in place for you. If you're not a client of ours and you need help with a plan, feel free to reach out to us again. We'd love to help you get that set up. We don't want anyone walking into retirement with big questions looming. So we'd be more than happy to help. info@rallywb.com. Thank you.